it's Tuesday and it's time to sew the Pottery Star Quilt Along blocks. So I hope you're here to do that. Also, I just wanted to mention that I see these boxes here that are all folded up. That's what I've been doing this week, is putting together all of the Tilda Club boxes. So if you're at all interested in Tilda fabric and a fun community of people to sew together, what we do is fill a box for you every month, send you some Tilda fabric. Hi, Amy. And sew together and do quilt alongs like we're doing now. So the club will be opening for new members starting on Monday. So if you're interested in that, you can find information on my website at that same link that I put in the description. Hi, Dee Dee. And yeah, so if you have any interest in that, you can go ahead and do that. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and we're going to get started sewing these blocks. So what you're going to need tonight to sew your blocks, some of you I know have been working away and have all your blocks done already. Yes, boxes, Amy. The boxes are getting packed up as we speak, and well, not quite as we speak because I'm the one packing the boxes, but you know what I mean. They're getting packed up today and tomorrow, and they'll get shipped out no later than Friday, since Saturday is the 20th. So what you're going to need tonight is your sawtooth star blocks that we did last week. You'll need 2 F squares, and the measurements for those are in your pattern. You'll need 2 B squares, and you'll need 4 K squares. And that's what we're going to need to sew our blocks together tonight. So first thing we're going to do is take our F squares, and we're going to cut those in half diagonally just one time. And I need a new rotary cutter, so please excuse me if I have to saw on these to get through them. Hopefully they won't be too terrible. I need a new blade in my rotary cutter, and I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to do that. So did okay. So I'm cutting my 2 F squares in half once diagonally. Now what I'm going to do is find the middle by folding them in half and just making a little crease there at the center. And I'm going to do the same thing on my square. Of course, you could measure it, but I just find it easier to do this. Faster and easier. So I'm going to find where that crease was that I just made on both the pieces and put that together. Hold on just a sec. Let me get my pins. For once, I had them next to my sewing machine, and now I need them over here. Okay, so I'm just going to pin right there in the center, and I'm going to put a pin in each side. Be really careful with these squares because, or I should say the triangles, because they are now cut on the bias, so you don't want to stretch them. So don't stretch them all along there. Just be really careful as you pin them. You don't want them to get stretched out. So I'm going to pin on one side, and then I'm going to flip my block around, and I'm going to pin on the opposite side. Hi, Kim. Okay, so now we have both sides pinned, and I'm just going to go ahead and sew those at a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to go over here to my sewing machine. Tell me what you guys have been doing. Feel like it's been a million years since last Tuesday. Ah! Dropped my phone. Hi, Debbie. Yes, Dee Dee is one of my faithful ladies who's always here on Tuesday, or at least nearly always. So I'm using this diagonal seam tape. We got some of that in, or I put some of that in the box a couple of months ago, and it works great for measuring your 1/4 inch seam as well as doing your diagonals on half square triangles. I do still mark my diagonals though, because I'm just like that. So I'm just sewing a 1/4 inch seam and being sure not to stretch the fabric as I sew, because as I said, that triangle is on the bias now, so it'll get stretchy. And of course, if you're sewing all of your blocks at once, you're going to want to do this chain piecing. But I'm just sewing this one block for you guys tonight. Sorry, I'm trying to find an ender here. I'm using all of my little cut-off triangles as my enders and leaders so that I can have some fun little triangles made up to piece together something scrappy later on. So now I'm just doing this opposite side of the block. And I sewed over my pins. Don't do that. Just because I did it doesn't mean you should. Okay, one more to sew together at the end. Okay, so those two are done. I'm just going to do the same thing with the opposite sides after I get this one. Hey, Kim. So that's funny. Amy and I were having this discussion the other day about pins, and we really like super, super fine pins. Hi, Shelly. I'm so glad you like it. Thank you. We like super fine pins, and her favorite are from a company called Little House. I cannot find those for the life of me to buy them wholesale, because I'd like to get some for the shop, but I can't get them wholesale. So I'm trying out a whole bunch of new ones. There is a new not brand, because it's Drit's brand, but there's a new type of pin coming out from Drit's that is an extra fine pin with a glass head, and they're supposed to be in stock at the distributors in July. So I'm going to try those out and see how we like them. But right now my favorite pins are glass head silk pins, and they look like this. It's hard to see, but they're very fine. And I also like the longer ones that are like this. Let's see if I have any right here that I can show you. Nope. So here's the longer one. It's a glass head pin. It's very thin. Yeah, I'm trying them out, and it's all your fault, Amy. Since we were talking about pins, I went looking for super extra fine pins, and I found that Dritz is doing some new ones. Okay, so all I'm going to do is do the same thing with these opposite sides to put the other triangles on. So I'm just finding the center again. I'm always in search of a better notion, you know. Especially pins. I'm a pin fanatic. Love a good pin. Yeah, I'll have some in the shop because I have to buy, I can't just buy one pack. They come in sets of packs, so I think it's probably 6. So I'll have some in the shop at least. We'll see how they are, and if they're good, I'll buy more, and I'll keep them stocked. Because good pins are good pins. Oh my goodness, that is a bent pin. That's from sewing over it like I just did with all those other ones I just did. I keep all of my bent pins in the same place on my pin cushion, so I know which ones are the bent ones. Okay, so this is all ready to get sewn again. Hi, Tracy. Running late because you just got here, or running late as far as sewing your quilt goes? Which way? Here's a big cutoff triangle. This came from my tester block. Do you guys want me to do a little tutorial when we're done to use up? We're going to have some cutoff triangles because the pieces we're putting together tonight have cutoff triangles on the corners. So do you want me to do a little something with those cutoff triangles for you guys on a Tuesday? Something you can use your cutoff triangles for? So I said I'm doing using them as leaders and enders. But then when I'm done sewing them all together, I'm going to put them together in something. Maybe I'll come up with a little pattern for you guys for your cutoff triangles. Hey, cuz. My cousin is watching. Hi, Gina. Okay. So this part is done. Now we're just going to finish it off with the rest of it. Okay, let's go back over and press it. Oh, I didn't realize I used the same print for the triangles as in the center. Just a different color. That was not done on purpose for sure, but it doesn't look bad, so it's fine. I don't let those kind of things bother me. Okay, so here is the center part of the block. Now what we want to do is square this to 11 3/4. I know that's a weird number, but that's how it turns out. And I have to find my square ruler. What did I do with it? Okay, you guys. Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay. So the easiest way to do this is, because we have points here, we can just use the 5 and, let's see, 11 3/4 is 5 5/8. So right in between, just past the 5 1/2, and in between the 5 1/2 and the 5 3/4. And we'll put that right on the points. Actually, that's not right. Hold on. Should be 5 7/8, sorry. Not 5 5/8. Someday I will get my math right. So 5 7/8, our little 5 7/8 line is right at where the points are. And then I'm just going to trim off the edge. And what that should do is leave you with 1/4 of an inch here on your point. And again, 5 7/8. Last one. Okay, so now we're all squared up to 11 3/4. The next thing we're going to do is take our 2 B squares and our 4 F squares. The F squares, we're going to mark diagonal line on the back. If you have a print fabric, or if it's a solid, it doesn't matter which side you mark. And I always use a mechanical pencil to do that, just because I like a nice thin line. Yes, Elaine, I will need your address. I will email you for that. Sorry, I had to look back at you guys' comments because I can't see them when I'm working. I've been so busy today, I haven't even checked my email, so. That's what happens when I'm filling boxes up. Okay, so now we have a diagonal line on each of our 4 squares. And what we're going to do is put right sides together with the B squares. And we're going to put one of these squares in each corner, on 2 corners opposite each other. And we'll have the diagonal line going this direction so that you have that corner. Just like you were doing a snowball block. Oh, that's a really bent one. These are all my bad pins. My good pins are in my other pin cushion and they're in the other room. So most of these pins are bent or dull or something. Okay, so we have our cool tone square and 2 F squares there on the corners. And we're going to do the same thing with the other one. And I just put the pins on there far enough away from the line that I'm not going to go over it with my presser foot. And you don't have to pin it if you don't want to. I'm just a pinner. That's why we had this discussion about pins. I like to pin. And I do find that pinning these helps me because for some reason they tend to want to get a little wonky when I'm sewing them if I don't have pins in them. So I just go ahead and pin them. It only takes a second, right? Why not have them come out better? I am so glad you like that pattern, Elaine. It is a labor of love, I have to tell you, because I designed it a few months ago and fell in love with it. And I thought, I really, really want to make this pattern. And I thought, what could I do with it to make it really fun? So doing the quilt along was my answer to that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew right on the marked line. And I'm chain piecing these to make it easier and faster. Okay. So that was the first side, and now we'll do the second side. Have I mentioned how much I love my Juki? You guys have been watching me for a while. You've been seeing me sew with my Elna, which I like, but I don't love it as much as I love my Juki. And I'm so happy to have my Juki back to use. Okay, cut off my little triangle. Okay. So glad you guys are making friends. Our little group over there, our little quilt along group, is quite busy, I've noticed. You guys are really sewing your little brains out. Getting all your quilts done, getting all your blocks done. So much fun. Okay. Now I'm going to depin. And I'm going to use my ruler and my rotary cutter to cut these. You could just use scissors if you want to, but the reason I'm doing this is that then these triangles will come out exactly the same size. And when I have all of these leftover triangles, I'm using them, as I showed you, as my leaders and enders, and I'm going to use them in another project later. So this way, they'll all come out the same size, and I can square them all to the same size and use them in another project. So that's the reason I'm doing that. So people often ask me, oh, I'm glad you're having fun, honey. People ask me if I miss my brick and mortar, and I have to tell you, the one thing that I really, really miss is, well, I always say I miss my customers. I truly, truly miss my customers. It's true. But the other thing I miss is teaching. I love teaching, and so this is so much fun for me to teach you guys, do some kind of little class every Tuesday. Okay, so now I'm just going to press these. I find it easier to press them out, so that's what I'm going to do. Press them out toward the corners, even though it's going toward the light and not the dark. I know, I'm bad. I'm the rebel. I'm a rebel. Pressing toward the light. Hey, that works with the Star Wars analogy too, doesn't it? Okay. So now that we have these all done, we have our corners pressed. We're just going to do the same thing with these and cut these on the diagonal. Same thing that we did with the warm squares earlier. Make sure you're not cutting your corners though. You want to cut right down the middle of the main fabric square. And I'm doing this really fast and not even thinking, so I'm undoubtedly going to make some kind of mistake. Hopefully I won't, but you never know. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing that we did with the red triangles. We're going to put the blue triangles like this. So I'm just going to find the center again of the triangle. I've gone rogue on you. Yes, I have. And it's funny because just like a rebel in Star Wars, I'm pressing toward the light. Okay, so here's my center of my triangle, and I'm just going to match that right up with the point right there in the center. And again, just being careful not to stretch those because we're on the bias again. Okay, back to the machine. I'm usually much better about taking my pins out, but I guess I'm just being a rebel all the way around today. Ender triangles. Okay, now the other side. love this machine so much because it's so fast. Hardly have to push the pedal. And the pedal is so nice and heavy, it doesn't move around on the floor. I don't have to chase it around. Should do a Juki commercial, huh? Okay. Now we'll go press this, and then we'll put our last two pieces on, and we'll be done. Hey, Sally. Whoops. Must be a party now. Sally's in the house. Okay, just finding my center again and matching it up with the point. Hey, Sally, have you started your quilt yet? I know you've been busy. No guilt if you haven't. I totally understand. Just wondering. Oh, yeah. Good. When you get back from Nashville. Well, the good thing about it is it's a really quick make, I think, anyway. If you do it all chain pieced, it goes pretty fast. Okay, so these are our last two pieces. Oh, sorry about that. Moving around the camera. Oh, that's my daughter's hair. I can tell because it's curly. That lucky girl, she's got the thickest, curliest hair. off all of my little leaders and enders there. Okay, here we are.